Hello and welcome to another Knifemaking Tuesday, the show where we get to make cool stuff and you get to sit there at your computer and watch us make cool stuff. This week we are modifying Alpha Knife Supply 3/16 pivots for our knives. These are very, very well made pivots. I'm thrilled with the precision and quality that Alpha Knife Supply is able to get when they get these made. I buy 50 of them and they're all within 4/10 diameter of, who knows if these are from the same batch or not, but they're, 50 random ones and they're all within 4/10. That's really tight for me. I've bought other kind of stuff and the tolerance is nowhere near that. So that's awesome. And they're made of 416, I think, heat treated stainless steel. They're really good. Except the problem is they're so long and the head is so big and not very nice looking. And I know I've done videos like this before of how I modify them, but I've got a new method now, so we're going to show that right now. So basically here's my before and after. My knives are so thin that I can't use this whole thing. It's just way too big. So, yeah, as I said, the before and after. You can see even the head is thinner. So they're a lot shorter. So I have to do two different operations. I have to shorten the shaft, and then I have to flip it over and do the head and do my little awesome little engraving right there. So before I was using kind of soft jaws in a vise, and that worked okay, but it wasn't as repeatable as I needed, and I was getting inaccuracies and not awesome stuff. They worked, but they weren't as perfect as they need to be. So now I've made a cool little jig. This is a chunk of titanium that I had, and so I made a jig like this. What she does, let's screw this off. Alright, so with this little jig, you can see there's a slot milled in it, so when you clamp it, it gets pinched, and then it pinches on the part that goes in that hole. So the first step that I do, see how there's a big hole in the bottom, pivot goes in, head goes in, and I put it, I've got another fixture I'll show you in a second. So the pivot basically falls down and rests on the bottom of the fixture where my Z0 is, because these pivots, they're all the exact same length. They're nice and consistent. I like it. So it rests in the bottom, and then you clamp it, and then I go and I helically go around and buzz the top of that off to the right height, and then I chamfer it inside and outside. And here I've got two in this fixture, and today we're going to make more of these little fixtures. And then what I do is I flip it over, same fixture, and just, oh sorry, I don't flip it over. I just flip the pivot over. And now I clamp it again, and now I can do the head, like so. So yeah, and I got a little arrow pointing, so I always put it in the exact same way. So anyway, let's make more of these guys. I have some halfway made. So the first side is done, and then I got some little pins in there, so that when I pinch it, it doesn't pinch too much. But the material that I had was 3/4 by 3/4, and I needed that much shorter. So this first op, we're going to take the whole top off. In the Tormach vise, I have spacer on that side, and then my little cubie over there. That's going to get our magic. And it does squeal and chatter a little bit. I'm not sure if it's kind of the whole vibration of this whole setup here, or I'm thinking my collet and my spindle bearings are getting just a tiny bit loose and need just a little bit of maintenance, as does all this rust. I apologize profusely. I'll fix that soon. So you can stop pointing it out, Brad. Anyway, let's deal with this. I love the tool changer. Alright, and that's all done. 4 minutes, 9 seconds. Can't complain about that. Looks great. Super great. Now I've just got 1, 2, 3 more left to do. And that will give me 6. And I've been using just the one for now, for like many months now. So we've been making just 2 pivots at a time, but this way we can make 12 pivots at a time and really maximize the, the spindle time, so we're not there. When I make these pivots, it's a really short cycle time, so I'd rather walk away and have it do 12 instead of have to sit here and watch little 2-minute cycles and reload every time. So that's the goal here. I'll get the other ones banged out and then we'll move to the next step. So these chips are everything we just created today from making 5 of those little jiggy things. Eric's getting jiggy with it. I think I destroyed my tool pretty good. It was dull going into it. But anyway, yeah, so adaptive clearing with HSM works, big depth of cut, makes these really long, stringy chips. Very, very cool. And I gotta say, titanium is my absolute favorite metal to machine because it's tricky to machine. Like, there's tricks to it, you can work hard in it, blah blah blah. But once you figure all that stuff out, it's just a dream to machine. And the chips are beautiful. I swept all these up with my hand and put them on here. They're kind of spongy and springy. It's not pokey. If this was aluminum, it'd be somewhat pokey. If it was steel or stainless, it'd be like little razor blades poking into your skin all the time. I wonder if that's why we make knives from steel and stainless. But titanium is just springy. It's not too pokey. It's light and fluffy and just fun and beautiful. I'm sure that depends on how you're cutting it and stuff, but the way I cut it, all this stuff stuck to my hand, it's just on the outside. Anyway, ranting. Yeah, pretty good haul of chips just from doing 5 of those today. So I'm going to let the coolant drain out of them and recycle. Alright, a quick sidebar. On the spindle here, I have a spindle light, an LED ring, that I've got hooked up to a switch right there. Originally discovered in the late 18th century by Brad, Kickstarter Brad. You might know him as Tactical Keychains on YouTube and Instagram and everything. Yeah, he figured out that these LEDs fit perfectly and stick right on, and then Tormach started selling the same product, and it works fantastically well. And it fits with the tool changer, which Tormach's other spindle light does not. So I've had this on for a year, maybe, something like that. But I'm starting to have some problems with it. Some of the lights are burning out, as you can see, but these ones right here are actually rubbing up against one of the tool holders in the ATC. Let's put this tool away and we can see. If we go store, I can't see it up. But anyway, trust me, it's rubbing up against 2 little screws, so the lights are exposed and not waterproof anymore. And when I turn it on, it lets out the magic smoke inside, and it'll keep doing this until I turn it off. Yes, rust. Don't mention it. Yeah, so I don't like to use it anymore, obviously, because it's smoking so much. So I need to get a replacement for that. And then maybe clearance. If I go to an empty spot and I go to tray load position, and then if I go over here and I go to change Z, perfect. Again, you can't see because there's no room to see in there. But come on, lighting. Sorry for the crookedness. Those 2 little black screws. If I shorten them, I'd have to shorten every single one on the whole thing. but that would clear the spindle light. Because I love using it. I absolutely love using it. And when I don't use it, it feels so pitch black in here. So anyway, I'm kind of rambling, but however, the new enclosure is soon to be in the mail. I will be ordering it very shortly, and that's got 3 huge, enormous lights on top that will hopefully flood the interior with enough light. If not, maybe I'll add some more lights, and because lighting is good. Good. I like this little guy though, it's so directional. It's so bright, right where you need it. Back to the Endmill here, the one that I was doing all the main work with. It's a 5-flute Lakeshore Carbide variable flute Endmill. Love this thing. Usually I use the 4-flute, but I just happen to have some 5-fluters and it works awesome. But it had a little bit of chip packing on the inside there. Now, like I said, this is a very dull Endmill. I've been using it for all kinds of stuff. So I'm not surprised that it's doing this. And 5 flutes might be too much to be going helically down inside a hole like I was doing. It's fine for profiling on the outside, but yeah, it's probably not the best for the hole because of the chip packing phenomenon. So the last part looks a little funky. Should be fine, hopefully, but we'll see. Yeah, you can see on the part, it was just at the very end where it dragged that chip that was stuck inside there around the outside. But I think the part is still flat, and I can buzz it real quick and make sure it's totally flat, and then it's still the right tolerance. Perfect. So here is that fixture that I was talking about. If you may remember, a while ago we made a small run of titanium ice cubes, which was successful, but we're not making these products anymore. So I have this beautiful, intricate fixture that needs to be used for something else. So these here are Mitee Bite Uniforce clamps. A very slick little design. Put your piece in there, you clamp it down, you have another one over here, and then it evenly spreads outwards and squishes them against the sidewalls and holds the parts very well. So these cubes, some of the ones that didn't work so well, turned into my little jigs here. And then the theory is like so. So now I'll be able to do 12 at a time instead of just 2 at a time. And yeah, I spent a few hours making these, but you know, just to save a few minutes per, but sometimes I like to spend the time ahead of time to work on proper fixturing and maximizing, you know, that, so that down the road everything is faster and quicker for every single time you have to do it. I think it's worth the time to do that sometimes. So yeah, now I have to load it up. And you can see I engraved every one just with the Dremel. Number 1, number 2 with a little arrow pointing. I mean, you can read the numbers and know which way it goes, but that way they always go, and then a corresponding number here, so that they always go back in the same spot, because let's assume that every single one is slightly different, and I'm going to use my touch probe and center every single hole so that it's totally repeatable, and that the center point of each individual one is known to the machine. So overkill, you might say? No, I call it perfection. So what I'm doing right here is I'm using the Tormach digital touch probe to find the absolute center location of where every single pivot actually is in relationship to the machine. Not assuming that they're 0.625 apart, because they're not exactly. Measuring where every single one is, and hopefully my fixture is repeatable enough, I think it is, that I will only have to do this setup once, which I just finished, and that the next time it will be, you know, within the thousandth or less, close enough. So that's kind of my goal, but I'll measure it every few times and see how close I am. But yeah, I think I'm good now. And every single pin has its own different fixture offset. So like starting in the top left hand corner, It's G59P31, G59P32, G59P33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. And then it uses the exact same code for every single one. So if I need to make a code change, I only have to change one piece of code because it gets repeated across every single one just with a different fixture offset. So it's basically saying run code number 1. It runs it. Move over a little bit, run it again. Move over a little bit, run it again. And that's the beauty of subroutines and fixture offsets. And I do that a lot, and it's fantastic. And here's what the code will look like with all the different offsets. So like I said, 31, 32, 33, 34, all the way to 42. And it's just copy and pasting the exact same code over and over again. If we zoom in, we can see the different codes. Big spiral around the outside cuts it off, and then the two little loops on the inside are chamfers. Works great. But I'm done for the night, and I'll pick this up tomorrow. Well, that was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So to do the top, or the first side of 12 pivots took just 5 minutes 35 seconds. For 12, that's amazing. If we were doing them 2 at a time like we were before, I mean just fumbling with them and fixturing them and putting the new ones in, we probably would have gotten 4 done in this amount of time. Now we're doing 12. That's awesome. Now time to flip. Either I can flip these over and work on the next code, or I can just throw all these ones in. This isn't even 12, but this is all that I have left right now. I think I'll just throw these in, because I haven't finalized the new code yet. But yeah, so I just had an air blast from the fog buster. Did I have any mist? Maybe a little bit of mist. Seems to be on a little bit. But you can see all the little chips on top of the rust. Awesome little curly cues. Really cool little chips. Long and pokey. These are hard stainless steel. So I'm going to vacuum them up so I don't have to touch them. But yeah, worked out awesome. So another thing I just did is I was getting bored of manually probing the center of these holes, so I wanted to come up with an automatic routine that can just do all 12. And I gotta say, it took quite a while, but I think the results were worth it because it works amazingly awesome. And there's safeties and redundancies in the code, so if it goes down inside the hole and it touches when it's not supposed to, it'll pause and let me fix it. And it works great. So it slowly goes down to inside the hole. This one doesn't touch, so it does its routine, moves to the next one, and if it doesn't touch, it'll continue. Love it. And if it does touch, it'll pause the code, let me manually move it out of the way so it doesn't touch, and then continue the code so it works. And it took me a while to figure that out, but once you have an understanding of how the codes work, how the macro works, you get your geek on, and then you can understand it a lot better. See, and then since I've already probed these, I can watch the repeatability of it. So 1/10 from last time, 1/10 from last time. let's see this hole. That one's again 1/10, 0/10. How's that for repeatability? Yeah. Yeah, this Tormach is pretty precise. Crazy. So that works. So I flipped them over and I'm working on the top side now. And I did, in the program you can hit block delete so that I can run just the first one if I want instead of the whole routine. So I did the first one and it turned out really good. Really happy with how that turned out. Nice little chamfer around the outside. The engraving is nice and deep. Not quite too deep. Oops. Maybe a hair too deep. We'll see. But yeah, now I can pretty much trust it and open it up to the rest of them. So right here I'm doing a really slow finish pass, a little bit lower, to give it a really nice surface finish. So here I'm going in with a finishing Endmill, and I'm finishing the flats. There we go. Because the first Endmill gets really dull quickly because this is hardened stainless steel. So this one will stay sharp and do a very accurate cut. Next up we're doing the engraving, and again this is hardened stainless steel with a tiny little 1/32 ball mill. They tend to break a lot if I don't have my speeds and feeds right, and sometimes they last for a long time. So yeah, this one seems to be lasting pretty long. We'll see if it lasts for the run for all 12 of them. That was great. So finally, these pivots are all done and they turned out amazing. Nice and deep engraving so that when Eric polishes the front, you don't lose any engraving. Yeah, these are awesome now. I was gonna say something, but I can't remember what. One thing with the engraving is, as I said, the Endmill does wear out eventually. Usually it just snaps, but as it does dull and dull and dull, the quality of the engraving will get suckier and suckier, and this is kind of a featured part on our knife, and I don't want, you know, the pivot on some random guy's knife to have a terrible engraving on it. So I try to keep an eye on the quality of the engraving, and if it starts to look really ratty, then I'll put a fresh Endmill in and run it again, and that'll clean it up. So it's just one of the things that I keep an eye on. Other than that, pivots are done. Now I need to order more because these aren't going to last me very long. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye.